Top of the hour, we get you the updates as India has thrashed Canada's recent allegations with regards to Khalistani terrorist Nijjar's killing. The Ministry of External Affairs in a press briefing informed that the representative of the Canadian High Commission was summoned and a diplomatic note was handed over in reference to the proceedings of Canada's Parliamentary Committee on National Security. Now, through diplomatic note, India has launched a strong protest, calling absurd and baseless the recent references that have been made to the Union Home Minister of India by Canada's Deputy Foreign Minister David Morrison. MEA also reacted to the recent admission by Canadian officials that they leaked sensitive information to Washington Post. India has called out unfounded insinuations, saying that this was part of Canada's conscious strategy to discredit India. MEA has also warned Canada, saying that such irresponsible actions will have serious consequences on bilateral relations between the two nations.
We had summoned the representative of the Canadian High Commission yesterday. A diplomatic note was handed over in reference to the proceedings of the Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security in Ottawa on October 29th, 2024. It was conveyed in the note that the Government of India protests in the strongest terms to the absurd and baseless references made to the Union Home Minister of India before the committee by Deputy Minister David Morrison. In fact, the revelation that high Canadian officials deliberately leak unfounded insinuations to the international media as part of a conscious strategy to discredit India and influence other nations only confirms the view Government of India has long held about current Canadian government's political agenda and behavioral pattern. Such irresponsible actions will have serious consequences for bilateral ties.
Now, recently, the top Canadian government officials, that is Trudeau's National Security Advisor and Canada's Deputy Foreign Minister, admitted to leaking sensitive information against the Indian government to the Washington Post. They called it their communication strategy to push Canada's version of things in the Western media. If these were the allegations that also appeared in the US newspaper, they have now responded to by the Ministry of External Affairs in India in strongest possible terms.
Within our strategy, we were talking to different audiences. And so we deliberately chose, as Madame Durand said in her introductory remarks, a credible, internationally read newspaper that would carry our side of the story. We chose a journalist who had a long record of background in this particular issue. He had written on it a number of times before.
The reason why we offered, as I said in my opening remarks, a background interview to the Washington Post was really to make sure that our side of the story will become clearly and be widely spread, especially at the international level. That was the strategy behind the background interview we gave.
Now, reacting to Canada's propaganda and lies, former ambassador of India to Jordan and Libya, Anil Trigunyat, has said that Canada appears to be competing with Pakistan, as it is also providing patronage to Khalistani terrorists at the cost of worsening ties with India and international community.
मैं समझता हूं कि जितने स्टेटमेंट, बयानबाजी, बेबुनियाद, इररिस्पॉन्सिबल स्टेटमेंट्स, ये एक अपने आप में एक नई तरह की बात दिखाता है कि किस तरह कनाडा आज की डेट में कम्पीट कर रहा है कि कैसे पाकिस्तान बन जाए, जहाँ पे टेररिज्म, एक्सट्रीमिज्म को सपोर्ट किया जाए। तो इस तरह की जो सिचुएशन है, ये बहुत इररिस्पॉन्सिबल और बचकाना हरकत है उनके बेसिस पे। तो मैं तो समझता हूँ कि कनाडा इस वक्त हमारे डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशन नहीं है, बट इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी में भी आज की डेट में एक सबसे लोएस्ट प्याम रखता है।
Now, at a time when India is calling out Canada's lies and sending out a strong warning for its irresponsible behavior, Congress party here, the opposition at home, seems to be standing with the government and once again is raising questions on the foreign policy of the centre, demanding an all-party meeting over the issue. BJP, on the other hand, has stoutly defending the government's stand and has linked Canada's actions to narrow political motives of Justin Trudeau.
Somewhere our foreign policy is not in the order. It never happened And not only Canadian government has made allegation where Home Minister name has been named, that he is abating violence and also inciting targeted violence against some Sikhs. And what is concerning is that US Department has also joined hand with the Canada. All party meetings should be immediately called for and to discuss that why the things are wrong.
Government of India has rightly protested, strongly protested against the baseless charges leveled by the Deputy Foreign Minister of Canada against our Home Minister, and also has exposed the Trudeau government of their political objectives, that how they are spoiling the international relationship, the diplomat relationship with India and other countries for their narrow political objectives.
Well, let's get in a word from Pradeep Datta, who is joining us. Pradeep, good morning. Such developments that have now taken place only escalating the tensions between the two nations, especially even when it comes to the cyber adversary. That has also been pointed out by Canada. And such irresponsible actions, as the MEA says, will have serious consequences when it comes to bilateral ties.
Yes, we have seen that the recent developments have only had an impact on the bilateral relationship between the two countries. And rightly said by one of the diplomats that Canada is becoming another Pakistan. The way the Pakistan had been harboring terror-related elements, the same way that Canada is also providing safe shelter to the Khalistani terrorists. And recently there was a statement made in the parliament by the Deputy Foreign Minister, David Morrison, where he had charged Amit Shah, the Indian Home Minister, of authorizing killing of the Canadian nationals. One is that what Canada is doing is that they have started a disconfirmation campaign to discredit India. That's one of the reasons that India has already lodged a very strong protest in this regard. And a protest note was handed over to the Canadian diplomat who was summoned yesterday. And that was informed by, during the press briefing by the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson, Mr. Jaiswal. So Canada has been told that India never ever indulges in all such things. So these allegations leveled against the Home Minister are not only baseless but absurd too. The reason is that what Canada is doing is that they have started one disinformation campaign. They are trying to discredit India, and they are trying to project basically the villains as the victims. And the villains in this case, everybody knows the Khalistani terrorists are there. They are responsible for terror-related incidents in India, and India in this regard has already presented a dossier to them. Because last time even Trudeau admitted that there is no evidence, but they had got the intelligence inputs. And so who is providing the intelligence inputs? Here on Times Now, we showed the letter of Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, who has been designated as terrorist by National Investigation Agency. He was the one who had written a letter in the month of September to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau asking to expel Indian High Commissioner. So who is dictating terms to Canada? It's because it is the Khalistani terrorists against whom already the Indian government has presented a dossier of their involvement in
Absolutely. And India has now even launched a strong protest and has said that leaking informations and such insinuations against the government of India has long held about the Canadian government's political agenda and also exposed its behavioral pattern. Pradeep Datta continues to be with us.